Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Serverside. This week is covering the week of August 4th, and we're going to be reviewing Uncharted, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Resident Evil Revelations, and Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
I'm here off the coast of Panama, where we just recovered what we believe to be the coffin of legendary explorer Sir Francis Drake, who was buried at sea over 400 years ago. Are you sure you want to be defiling your ancestors' remains like that?
You make it sound so dirty. Besides, thought you didn't believe me.
Well, I did do my research, and apparently Francis Drake didn't have any children.
Well, history can't be wrong, you know. For example, you can't defile an empty coffin.
What the hell?
You devil.
What is it? Come on, hold it up.
No way. Deal was for a coffin. That's it.
Wait a minute. If my show hadn't have funded this expedition, you wouldn't have...
You got your story, lady.
Look, Mr. Drake, you signed a contract. I have a right to see every single thing that...
Could you hold that thought? Sully, we got some trouble. Hurry it up.
Okay. What's going on?
Pirates.
Pirates?
Yeah, the modern kind. They don't take prisoners. At least not male prisoners.
Wait, what are you talking about? Shouldn't we call the authorities or something?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea, but we don't exactly have a permit to be here.
What?
Yeah, so unless you want to end up in a Panamanian jail, we should probably handle this ourselves.
Well, what's worse?
You obviously haven't been in a Panamanian jail. Do you know how to use one of these?
Yeah, it's like a camera. You point and shoot, right?
Good girl. Here we go.
So I haven't really played a lot of PS3 games, and when I first got mine, I had no idea what I wanted to play because I was already pretty set up on my 360, and I liked how the controls worked on there. So somebody recommended that I play Uncharted because I previously told them about the games that I like to play. And I'm very happy that I ended up playing this game. I love it. First of all, it's a third-person shooter, so I'm automatically good at it. It's the only shooters that I am good at, so that was exciting because I didn't die nearly as often as I did in first-person shooters. The story was awesome, and it kind of went along with this little fantasy world that I have going on where I am actually secretly a treasure hunter, and then I got to play as Nathan Drake, who actually is a treasure hunter. So that was really exciting. I love the characters. Drake is, of course, a descendant of Sir Francis Drake, so I really like that they incorporated some historical fact into it regarding Sir Francis's travels and discoveries. So in the beginning of the game, you find Sir Francis Drake's journal, which will lead you to El Dorado. So Nathan Drake and his friend Sully are looking for treasure, and Sully's hoping to get the treasure in order to pay off a bunch of debts that he owes people. So as you can imagine, they go find the treasure, and they run into your generic bad guy who is like basically kind of like a rich evil treasure hunter, and he's basically kind of like your run-of-the-mill. He has a bunch of guys that work for him that will do whatever he wants them to do because he pays them well, but inevitably he's just in it for the money. And he sees Sully, and he decides that he's just gonna go ahead and take care of Sully because Sully owes him tons and tons of money that Nathan didn't know about. As you're going through the story, you are of course on an uncharted island looking for El Dorado, and you find out some secrets along the way that I won't reveal to you because in the end they come together in this giant culmination that just reveals new bad things that happen constantly. But the mechanics are great. Like I mentioned, it's a third-person shooter, which I absolutely love. I just think that it gives you a wider range of vision, and I like being able to see more because it makes me feel more comfortable. Gun control was not bad at all. The only thing that took me a little bit on getting used to is that the trigger actions are the opposite of the 360 controls, so I pretty much just threw grenades everywhere for a while before I actually like remembered that R1 was your gun. So like I just blew up a bunch of random, I'm sure very important historical sites in the game. But all in all, like this game was awesome. Character was great. Nathan Drake's really funny and he has a lot of sarcastic comments that just make you like him. He's just very likable. Even your little sidekick Elena, who is a journalist who basically attached onto you because first you tried to abandon her and then she was like, well actually I'm amazing, and decides to just join up with you of her own free will and actually proves to be quite helpful, and she doesn't die and she doesn't get seen by any enemies, so you don't have to worry about her like getting out of cover or anything. But as much as I love this game, I also really hated this game. I have a very big love-hate relationship with the Uncharted franchise. I was having so much fun in the beginning. I was like, this is awesome. It's like the male version of Tomb Raider, which I loved. So I was going through and I was having a great time killing humans. I know that sounds really bad, but it'll make sense in a second. And finding lost treasure and looking for things, and it was just a lot of fun. It really filled up my little need to be some part of a fantasy world, so it was great. And then I got closer and closer to the end, and I was pretty good. I was like, wow, there was like this old World War II bunker and the submarine, and I was like, cool, I get to explore more things. And then that's when I got really mad, because for some unknown, unfathomable reason, we had to bring out some freaking, I don't even remember what they're called, some zombie things that I just did not understand the need for at all. It was perfectly fine. I had my stereotypical bad guy with all his little bad guy henchmen coming at me, and I was doing fine. I was killing them, I was wading through, it was great, and I was having such a good time. And then I ran into zombies. Why do we need zombies? I know, I've had this explained to me like multiple times. Everybody's like, Darby, it's an uncharted island, so you have no idea what's actually going to be there. I don't freaking care. I didn't want the zombies. They made absolutely no sense. Well, I guess in the end, they did make sense. Like, you know why they're there, and I'm very happy that that was actually explained and they weren't just like some random supernatural element in the game. But I still think it would have been totally fine if we just went through with normal humans and had the bad guy which you defeated at the end, and I still think it would have been great. And little like side update, I'm on Uncharted 2 now because I got so mad at Uncharted 1 I just didn't even want to play it anymore. I was like, I like the story but I can't finish it because it made me so mad. And to be honest, when I was down in the submarine and it was all dark and everything and I couldn't figure out how to use the controller very well, I was like freaking out and just like spraying and praying the entire time, and then I ran out of bullets and died a lot, so I just got frustrated. So back to my little update. I'm on Uncharted 2 now, and I asked around to find out if there was some stupid little twist at the end, and there is, and I cannot even tell you how upset I am about this because I am loving this game once again, and then it's gonna just break my heart at the very end, and it's so disappointing. But on top of all that, I'm giving it an 8.5 because I really like the mechanics and I love the story and I love everything about it except for the ending, which is a huge part of a game for me, and it ruined it. Other than that though, I recommend you go pick it up if you really like any type of action adventure games. It's a lot of fun and the story is very fulfilling.
Hey, it's Vaughn. I'm going to review Resident Evil Revelations for Xbox 360 and PS3. Now, Resident Evil Revelations is developed and published by Capcom, and it was a port of the 3DS version. This port doesn't really work. there's an inherent problem with trying to port something on handheld to console, is that handhelds are always like the Diet Coke version of the console games. So when you try to make it go the other way, you just kind of cheat everybody else out of like a full experience. So the story is about Jill and her new partner Parker, who looks like Russell Crowe and talks like Count Chocula, go into a ship called the Queen Zenobia because they think that Chris might be held there. And along the way they find out Chris isn't actually on that ship, he's on a ship that's identical to it, and he's on another team mission with his partner Jessica. And it goes into a lot of flashbacks, and there's a lot of like inner corruption within the BSAA. It's crazy as hell. It's treated with grace and subtlety, like Rebel Wilson walking on flaming stilts. It just doesn't make sense, and it's thrown at you, and they always expect you to just roll with it, and that's okay, because by this point the Resident Evil series doesn't really care about story anymore. Now there are some really good things about this game. The design of the ship is actually done really well, and it reminds you of an old style Resident Evil game. It has really good atmosphere within it, and things just kind of pop out at random through vents like Dead Space style or just around corners, and it always kind of keeps you busy. Another design that's really great are the enemies. They're all like kind of aquatic, amphibious design. They look like lanternfish kind of creatures, which is a really nice like call, because those things are scary enough on their own. You hang it from somebody's ceiling fan when they turn their lights on themselves. So that's a really good idea they have. But a lot of things just don't really work with this game. There are so many frame rate issues for being transferred. It makes me wonder why it's even on an HD console. There were less frame rate issues on the 3DS version, so I don't know how that really works. Another thing I don't really like is that there's not a lot of enemy variety. They do have really great design, like buzzsaws and shooting their hands off and stuff, but there's not really a lot of enemies. You'll face the same 2, 3, maybe even 4 enemies over and over and over again. The bosses are more varied, but they just kind of come and go, and they're never really heard from again. Another thing that's really just painful about this game is the controls are just so awful. It doesn't really work as a shooter. It feels like it's trying to be a shooter, but the controls are really loose, and it never feels just quite as tight as a shooter should be. And the biggest problem with the controls, look, I died a lot playing this game. I'm just gonna say this right now, because there is a command in the game where you dodge, and it says in order to dodge, you press up and A or down and A in order to move forward or away from an enemy. And I found out later that you don't even need to press A, you just need to press the direction in order to dodge. So the problem is, why the is move and dodge the same control? Why is there not a dodge button? Look, I'm sorry, but that was a problem that was still on the 3DS version. And you'd think that if you're gonna transfer a game, you would realize the things that don't work and fix them. On top of that, the game's also really short. It still has the same length of the 3DS version. It's about 6 hours long, which is good for a handheld, but terrible for a console game, because if anybody bought this at full retail price when it came out, that's $50, yo. You should just feel so cheated about that. There are a few things like raid mode, which you play through story segments and you just shoot monsters and get points so you can upgrade your guns and just go through more points in the story. It's kind of interesting. I don't like it as much as Mercenaries, but I get it, it works. But it's not gonna make you keep coming back to the game. You can download some more maps for it, but who gives a shit, really? It just feels like a watered down experience that has a few broken aspects that could have easily been fixed, but weren't. And I don't hate this game, that's the problem. All the things that are good about the 3DS version are still good here, but just there was something lost in translation, and if the 3DS version was an 8.5 out of 10, this version would probably be a 7 out of 10. It's not bad, but there's just so many bad things about it. And if you're a fan of the Resident Evil series, this is definitely worth checking out, because it's something new that you haven't really seen before. It's pants on head crazy, but it's new at least.
Don't really remember how I got here, but what I do remember is that I really like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories for the Game Boy Advance. I replay that game constantly. It's a interquel between the first one and the second one, and it's all about like Sora Donald and Goofy. I believe those are the Disney characters. I can't quite remember. But he and them go into like this castle oblivion, where the further they go, the more memory they lose. So it's replaying key moments from the first game, but you don't remember them, so they play out a little differently. And it introduces this organization called Organization 13. They're very organized. And they are nobodies, which is a thing that gets explained later. And they basically rewrite the main character's memories so that they replace his childhood sweetheart with another girl named Naminé, who you then have to go save. It's really weird, it's trippy, it plays with memories pretty well, and the story is actually kind of engaging. It introduces fun characters like this guy named Axel. But where it goes different from Kingdom Hearts is it is not a hack and slash beat 'em up game. It is a card-based combat game. So you get a deck of cards, you gotta swap out them because you can only have a certain amount, and you can combine them and make super moves. It's a little hard to pick up at first, but it's actually pretty fun and intuitive once you get the hang of it. It's a really fun game, and once you beat it, you unlock a side story where you play as another character named Riku as he journeys through the basement of Castle Oblivion. That's also a really fun storyline. It gives you a lot of character. It actually gives you a lot of story that you don't get for that character in the next game. It's just not really talked about. So I recommend you play this really fun game. You can go on to play the other ones after that if you haven't already. What was I saying?
Need for Speed Most Wanted. It's way better than Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Go yourself.
Need for Speed Most Wanted is a game developed by Criterion and released by EA. It's your typical racing game, and if you're a fan of the old Need for Speed Most Wanted, don't go pick it up because it is a reboot, it's not a remake, so you won't be able to customize the game or any of your vehicles, but it is a really good game. It isn't a street racing game, although it is illegal street racing, but you don't have your street racing cars. You have, I'm a billionaire cars, like your Porsche, your Lamborghini, your Koenigseggs. It's a good game, really good DLC. You can rack up a lot of hours and not even think about it. Like me, I have like 120 or more. Really, pick it up. It's one of the greatest racing games I've played to date. Definitely give it my 9 out of 10. I can't tell you anything because it's a racing game. Really just play it. It's simple to catch on. Right trigger drive, left trigger brake. That's really it. Your X is your handbrake, whatever. Crash, make damage like on Burnout. Pick it up. $40 worth right now. I got it for $60. Go get it. It's worth it. Criterion did a really good job. They're better than any racing company I've ever played a game for. Forza Horizon didn't even catch up this year. It was good, but it's not as good as this one. Pick up Most Wanted. Do it. Do it!
Alright guys, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for watching. Once again, like and subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. If you haven't done so already, look us up on Facebook and go ahead and like us on there as well. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to let us know below. And next week we're going to be focusing on fighting games, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure.
Quit being
Fighting games! And, oh my god, okay, we're going to be doing fighting games.
Are we?
So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Sketch.
Yay!
Nothing.